Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are the Batman. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
Today we're doing something a little fun because we were talking and we realized something we've never dived into that's very Batman adjacent is the Teen Titans.
Yes.
We've glossed over the various versions of the group that has appeared in entertainment in previous episodes. We've never actually talked about them at length, and it seems like something that was, especially now that Titans is over, and we're looking to the future as far as what's going to happen with the Bat family and film. It seems like something was worth getting into. So we're gonna kind of talk. This is a little bit of a different episode. We're not pitching anything. We're not ranking. We're just kind of taking a look at the Teen Titans as they've existed over the years in various different forms, and just kind of sharing our thoughts on it in general. I think just to kind of get it out of the way, we should probably start with the comics. But I'll be honest with you, I never read the Teen Titans comics. When I was growing up reading comics, they weren't really. I'm honestly not sure if there was a run going at the time that I was reading comics as a kid, and it just wasn't a known thing for me. So, I mean, my real first exposure to the Teen Titans was, with the Cartoon Network series. Matt, I don't know if it was the same for you or not.
Well, I think I read some of the comics because Robin was in them.
Sure.
So I would pick it up here and there. I mean, the big thing is there was they would do on Super Friends or some of the older cartoons, they would sometimes have, I think they were just called Titans at the time. Maybe. And it was that was like Speedy, Wonder Girl, Robin, and Aqualad, the white one. And they just were doing whatever adventures. So I remember that. And then when I saw that comic, I was like, I recognized Robin, and I forgot what her name is now, the Wonder Girl character.
She had a bunch of different names.
Yeah. And I was like, I recognize those guys, but who's this Green Bear and who's this robot guy? And a Cyborg had been in the Super Friends cartoon, but it was just why is he here?
Yeah.
And I read some of those, and then I just kind of put it out of my mind. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Nightwing becomes a character that I start going oh, who's this? And where's this coming from? And I kind of went back to it, but then this is mid 80s, late 80s. And the Teen Titans had become this weird, they're all in on the Starfire and fighting aliens. They're in space. I mean, because there's a lot of those mid to late 80s comics with DC where everything was cosmic. The Justice League's in space. Everybody's in space.
Marvel was the same way. All the comic books were going to space and doing weird cosmic stuff in the 80s. Because we were past the space race, but it was, we're getting into, we're at the time where we're heavy into space exploration, and satellites are getting sent into space left and right. And, so it was very much as what was popular at the time.
Yeah. So it was, I knew about that, but I kind of didn't read it just because, I wanted Nightwing to be a crime fighter, not a space adventurer.
Yeah.
And so I always knew that was out there, but I wasn't really into it. And then, it's not until the Teen Titans cartoon comes out, which is interesting to me because by the time that cartoon comes out, Nightwing has nothing to do with the Titans.
Yeah, I'm finishing high school, and it's a kid's cartoon about Robin. So so we should probably go ahead and just get into the cartoon, is because that was kind of my first real, I knew who Cyborg was because of the Super Friends cartoon, and of course I knew who Robin was because Batman. But Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy were characters I had no prior history to. They may have appeared here and there in a comic I read, but I didn't know who they were specifically. I was reading a lot of, JLA in the 90s and Nightwing runs specifically. But man, the Cartoon Network, that first Cartoon Network cartoon that started in I think 03 is when it started.
Yes, it's 03 to 06.
03 to 06 was pretty darn good for being it was so popular. I remember because my little brother and sister were both real young at the time. And they would show 3-hour runs of it every day, after 5 p.m. or something like that. I mean, it was and having watched, so you would see the whole run in the span of a couple of weeks, and it was a good show. I mean, this is pre New 52, so this show is partially responsible for why Cyborg gets folded into the OG Justice League in the New 52, is because people loved Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy and Robin, of course, but like Cyborg was the big takeaway popular character from this show.
Yeah, Jeff Johns probably watching the show becomes a big fan of it, and he's the big one who pulled Cyborg into Justice League.
Yeah.
So whatever.
And a lot of, a lot of that lends itself to Carrie Payton, who's the voice of Cyborg, who stellar voice acting. Really gets the characterization of this take of Cyborg very, very well. Some of my favorite episodes, I think, are some of the Cyborg focused ones, like the ones where he's exploring the limitations of being half machine, because he talks about, like, when I was fully human, my coaches would always say go 110%. He's like, now I'm half machine, I have a limit, and he's not used to having a limit. It was a cool way of exploring that with Cyber. There was some really, this show had moments of kind of like what you see with Star Trek sometimes, of delving into real world-esque issues, but under the facade of a superhero show.
No, it was really good. I always cracked up because, of course, I'm much older. I'm in my, late 20s when this thing hits. And I remember just going like, why do they keep calling him Slade? Because you can't say Deathstroke in a kid's cartoon.
They're not going to let you call a character Deathstroke.
But my daughter was all into it. I bought her a bunch of the toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, when my son was born, asking her like, hey, do you still have those toys? I think you might like them. She's like, no, I got rid of them. I'm like, But
yeah.
But no, it was one of those shows, like, I didn't hate watching it, but I was never gonna sit down and watch it. You know what I mean? Like, if she was around, like, this is back in DVR times, so I would DVR it, that and the Batman, and we would watch the Batman together, and then I would watch this. She would watch this show, and it was fun. I think I was mainly annoyed by it because this is the exact reason why Robin didn't appear in the Batman cartoon until the fourth season.
Or season 3, yeah, because
depends on where you go. Technically fourth,
yeah,
even though now they're saying it's the third season.
Whatever. But because it is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it is interesting, because a lot of the same people who worked on Teen Titans also worked on the Batman. I think they had the same EP and like half the same producers, honestly, and even the animation style is very similar. That kind of anime, kind of not, like, it borrows a lot of inspiration from kind of your standard Japanese anime fare. So it was kind of, and there's a lot of allusions to Batman in Teen Titans when you're dealing with Robin, especially in that Slade storyline or the Red X storyline. I'm always interested that they never crossed the two over, honestly, because it seems like, because they were so similar, because the writing style was so similar, the animation was so similar, it would have been a neat take to just have this Teen Titans version of Batman be the one from the Batman, the animated series, the animated show with I forget the guy who was the voice of Batman in that.
Romano or something or other.
Like that. Like, why he wasn't just that, like, why those two weren't a crossover. It would have been a really neat idea to have the Batman be a spin-off of Teen Titans.
Well, and I think part of it too was, if you go back to the first 2 seasons of the Batman show, you can tell they're trying to do something completely different with him.
Sure.
There's no James Gordon. There's no, like, they're using some of the villains, they're making up villains, they're doing different things. And I think, they're trying to do, like, let's do something completely different. And of course, by the 3rd season, it just starts reverting to being a normal Batman
because
show.
They realize, you know what, we just need to let this be a Batman show. We're trying so hard to make it anything but a Batman show with Batman in it. Just be a Batman show.
Yeah, everybody wanted Gordon, so Gordon comes in, and then once you get Gordon, now you got Batgirl, which I thought Batgirl being around first was awesome.
Was what they did with Batgirl in the show is really interesting until they bring in Robin, and then you just basically never see Batgirl again. She gets cut out of so much of the show once Robin joins in.
Yeah, she's like in every other episode in the third season. She's in maybe 5 in the fourth, and it's all Robin.
And then in the last season, I think she's got like 2 appearances, and most of them she doesn't have lines. Anyway, we're talking about Teen Titans though, so it was just kind of an interesting because they are so. Even the Robin design they use for the Batman is very similar to the one from Teen Titans. So,
which is the Tim Drake Robin, which is kind of funny. Because Tim
do they ever actually confirm which version of Robin is in Teen Titans? Is it Dick or Tim?
It's Dick, because there's an episode. It's either at the end of the first or the end of the second season where Starfire goes in the future and she runs into Nightwing.
That's right. You're right. You're absolutely
right.
But
that is the only, because there was, I remember back then, like the big deal at the time was, who is it? Because he's wearing Tim Drake's suit.
Yeah.
And they never, ever
using the staff, which is such a Tim Drake thing.
Yeah, but they never go into their civilian identities in the entirety of the show. They're always in their costumes. So there is a lot of talk about, like, is it Tim Drake? Is it this? Because at the time, like, Dick Grayson has not been Robin for 10 years, 10 or 15 years by the time the show comes out. So it is like the only time you're like, oh, it's Dick, because when she goes in the future, he's Nightwing.
Yeah, there's a lot of
designs.
It is not a great design. It is not my favorite. But it is definitely, like, they go out of their way to, like, avoid confirming that he's Dick Grayson. But there's like, I found a list online. There's like 7 different times where it's alluded to. That's like, this is probably Dick Grayson. But it was also because, like, the idea was, because even when you look at the credits, he's not credited as Robin / Dick Grayson. He's just credited as Robin.
All of them are. None of them are called by their names. They're all Beast Boy, Starfire, Robin, Raven.
Yeah. Starfire is never referred to as Coriander, which is the stupidest name ever for a. Congratulations, your name is a spice.
Yeah. Or something that pulls, holds coffee.
Yeah. So anyway, but ultimately, like, I do like the show quite a bit. And my little brother and sister were very young at the time. We have a big age gap, and so when it was sit down and watch a show with the kids, if it was Teen Titans, I wasn't going to have it wasn't like I was having to force myself to watch the Wiggles, and secretly wanting to jump off a bridge. It's like, oh, if I got to sit and watch something, Teen Titans ain't half bad. And also, like, I mean, there's a lot of like Ashley Johnson. This is one of Ashley Johnson's first, like, because she's the voice of Tara in the show, which Ashley Johnson goes on to do Critical Role and The Last of Us. I mean, this was a big thing for her. John DiMaggio is in this as Brother Blood. Will Wheaton is Aqualad. So there's Kevin Michael Richardson, of course, is Trigon. Kevin Michael Richardson is the man, by the way. Tara Strong, of course, is Raven. So it's not like they put in effort with this show. It wasn't like this was just a throwaway kid show. They brought in talent, and I mean, it ran for 5 seasons plus a special and a TV movie, and so
the TV movie's crazy.
The where they go to Tokyo.
Yeah,
it's nuts. It's good. It's nuts.
Yeah. No, the thing I mean, again, my daughter a little different because she was the first and I wasn't married to my wife, is like, I just kind of let her watch whatever. I didn't really care. But the stories in this, and it was a good tone. I liked it. The Ron Perlman as Slade was probably one of my favorite things about the show.
So good.
And then after that, do we want to jump to Teen Titans Go, or do we want to talk about Batman Brave and the Bold?
Let's talk. Let's talk Teen Titans Go, because it came first. And the less said about this, the better. Look, okay,
dare you, sir?
And again, we talked about this on the phone. I'm a grown ass man with no kids and no nieces and nephews. And while you and I agree on one thing, which is I think people tend to overstate how like not kiddie Teen Titans is. Teen Titans is a kid show, through and through. but it's not a little kids show. Like
Yes.
Teen Titans Go is very much made for a young child audience. It is all in on the comedy, all in on kind of just being hokey. It's all the same people attached, same voices and everything. Just
to like the letter, like even like Will Wheaton, Mike Irwin, Ron Perlman, all those people come back and revoice the characters they played in the original show.
Yeah. I don't think they swap anybody out as far as the voice cast goes. But this show is 1,000% made for a very specific age demographic that if you're not in that demographic or you don't have kids / nieces, nephews in that demographic, there's not a lot to get out of it. Because I get nothing out of it.
I beg to differ, sir. No.
Just you can differ all you want. It's not going to change the fact that every time I've tried to watch this show, there has only ever been one episode that I really truly enjoyed.
Okay.
And that is the episode where they weaponize just how handsome Robin is without his mask on.
Yes. Yes.
That is objectively funny because that is such a meta joke because of all the humor that Dick Grayson is. His superpower is being good looking. Even in the Tom Taylor run of Nightwing, which we just did a review on, there's literally a panel in the second volume where Flash is like, you just need to put on a bulletproof vest. You're too handsome for anyone to ever shoot you in the face. Because yes, he's that handsome. So I appreciated the meta humor of that episode that like they're literally chasing down a robber and Robin just takes his mask off and he's like, he's so pretty, and wrecks and they arrest him. But there's nothing for me in this show. So I've never gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it. You have young children. It's different for you.
It is. And it's this is what I'll say. You're correct. They go super deformed with the look of the characters.
Yeah.
But it is funny because they so often like reference the Teen Titans cartoon.
Yeah.
To the point where like there for a long time there was a legitimate argument about whether it was just a continuation. And they finally, like I think in the second or third season, there's an episode where one of the villains like straight up is like, you guys aren't these guys are better than you, and shows them like this is the better version of you. And it's hilarious. It's very kid oriented. All of the like there are times in the Teen Titans cartoon where they look like this or make jokes and go this weird super deformed anime thing with expressions and things. All they did was just like, let's just make them always look like that. But it is hilarious. And there's just some of the stuff that they do in this show that is beyond even like little kid humor. Like like Starfire, like Robin is always trying to get with Starfire because they have no romance at all in this version. And at one point, like Beast Boy and Raven. So Beast Boy was with Terra in the original Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And he plays the same song.
Yeah.
And then Raven was with Aqualad. Well, then Aqualad and Terra get together. So then Raven and Beast Boy decide they're going to break them up. Yeah. And then they end up getting together. And while this is happening, Robin is trying to woo Starfire and Cyborg's with him. And he just keeps doing like the dumbest crap. And every time he does something dumb, Robin sings like this third wheel song.
I'm good. Everything you're saying right now is just reconfirming my decision to not watch the show.
No, it is so funny because then they start doing this like Beast Boy and Raven thing.
Because that had been kind of alluded to in the original Teen Titans, and then Terra came. I will say the season that's about Terra is
dark and
dark.
Intense.
It's very good, but it's dark.
Yeah,
but so I appreciate the meta-ness that comes with some of the humor in Teen Titans Go. From what I've seen, I can't watch a whole show of it.
No, it is. There's some of it because I think you said, hey, if you send me a list, and I would watch some, and I was like, no, this is funny, and I'm like, no, like the responsibility episode.
If you send me a list of episodes that you think I would enjoy, I will watch them. But also at the same time, I reserve the right to tell you that you're wrong and I didn't enjoy it.
No, I decided against it. As silly as the Teen Titans Go show is, because it is, I will say this. You've got to watch Teen Titans Go to the movies. You've got to watch the movie.
I really don't want to.
I know,
I
but
really don't want to.
it's
From what everyone has told me, it sounds like, again, because it's super meta and because of the pot shots that it takes at kind of DC and Teen Titans lore in general, I'd probably get a kick out of it. There are other ways I'd like to spend my day.
it's an hour and a half. Nicolas Cage is Superman.
I know Nick Cage is Superman. I know they do this whole thing about all the different Batmans, and I know
Michael Bolton sings one of the theme songs.
And I know there's a whole thing at the end with the OG Teen Titans. I'm aware. I'm well aware. It's just
which was a wicked tease, because all it was predicting was that there is a Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go cartoon movie.
Yeah,
that is not quite as funny, but it has its funny moments. Because if you've seen Turtles Forever, it's almost like they blueprinted that thing and did it with Teen Titans.
I heard about all that, and I'm like, that's cruel. That is such a screw you. It's like, as much as I liked WandaVision, it's like when they brought back Evan Peters as quote unquote Quicksilver, just for it to be a bait and switch boner joke in the last episode. I was like, no, that's not okay. That's mean. No. That's terrible. How dare you?
The funniest was when New 52 Nightwing shows up with his team, and Starfire's like, oh, he's so handsome.
Yes, he is. The handsomest man in all of DC. All right, so you suggested Batman the Brave and the Bold a minute ago. I honestly didn't even consider. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I never even considered it when we were thinking about this, because they do a whole episode about like kind of the formation of the Teen Titans.
And they appear like 2 or 3 more times. And Nightwing's there for a while. No, I thought it was very cool because just like the entirety of that show, it harkens back to the original Teen Titans, which are just the sidekicks of the heroes.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
It's Speedy, Aqualad, and Robin as little kids deciding,
who becomes Nightwing at the end of the episode.
Yes, it becomes Nightwing at the end of the episode. No, it was just like a really cool, the retro look of their costumes.
They found a way to make that retro Nightwing outfit not look ridiculous
by not cutting it to his navel.
Exactly. Exactly.
70s flair.
Oof, it was a look, but no, it was cool. We've talked about Batman the Brave and the Bold quite a bit on this show. It's a stellar show, and it's just the right amount of campiness for me. Whereas like Teen Titans Go, I think takes it a little too far for my taste personally. Batman the Brave and the Bold is an excellent program, and the way they handle the sidekick, because there's a whole episode dedicated to just, Robin being Robin in another city with, a little alteration to his costume, and he can't be taken seriously because everyone just sees him as Robin. So it's absolutely fantastic.
No, the thing I like watching Brave and the Bold again, what I realize is Batman Brave and the Bold is directly between Batman 66 and Batman 89.
Yeah.
Like he looks that way, he talks that way, but it is dark a couple times.
Boy, howdy is it. Boy, howdy does it go there more than once.
Yeah. I still, that, what was that episode? The Shadow of the Bat, where he goes after Joe Chill. Chill of the Night.
Yeah, with Phantom Stranger and
the Spectre.
The Spectre, yeah. Played by Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. It's killer. It's a killer episode. It's very
good. That's not the Teen Titans.
No, it's not. Now,
no, them appearing there is great, but now I think we have to go to.
We got to go to Young Justice. Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Young Justice. I think Young Justice is the Teen Titans show that everyone thinks Teen Titans was. Like when people talk about this, like gritty, serious take on Teen Titans, like, no, you're thinking of Young Justice, not Teen Titans. Teen Titans was more serious, but it was still a kid's show. Young Justice, not so much. It wasn't an adult show, but it was definitely a more, let's say, grown up take on the Teen Titans.
It's like an angsty teenager to early 20s kind of thing. And
yeah,
I think the biggest problem I had with it is it takes itself way too seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't give a crap about half the romances in the show.
Yeah, it leaned way too heavy into the romances every once in a while. I couldn't give two shits about Superboy and Ms. Martian. I really couldn't.
No.
And honestly, like because I enjoyed the show. My sister is a huge fan of it. I like the show just fine. I think that I think you're right. I think they tried to take it a little too seriously. I appreciated that they were giving some love to other characters we probably hadn't seen. Like because they could have easily just had this be Robin, Cyborg, Raven, Starfire. They could have easily just been a rehash, and they made a point of, other than Robin, not letting it just be another rehash of Teen Titans, even more so by having Robin not be the main
in the first season.
Well, yeah, but like they literally they dedicate an entire episode to, oh well, Robin's been crime fighting for this long, he should be the leader, and it's like, yeah, but he's still 12
and he doesn't know how to be a team player.
Yeah. Aqualad's older, is more experienced, is more mature, and is just kind of got a more steady head on his shoulders. It makes more sense for him to be in charge. Robin, while the more experienced crime fighter, is still a kid. So
yeah, I think my biggest problem with this show is that the first season and the second season are two completely different shows.
Yeah, because they do a 5-year time jump.
They do a 5-year time jump, so Dick Grayson can be Nightwing. You can bring in Tim Drake, Robin. There's
because we see a point where they have this memorial for Titans that have died,
and Jason Todd's there.
And Jason Todd's there. So like it's like that's a lot to have happen in a 5-year time span.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, I know you wanted to jump and get him to Nightwing, but then you should have just started. I feel like you should have just, like, the second season in and of itself is a fantastic show. The first season in and of itself is a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
But they're just not anything the same.
They're completely different shows. They are completely different shows.
And then the third season is okay.
I didn't finish the third season. I wasn't on board, and I haven't watched season 4.
I just about hunted down Greg Weisman.
Oh God. Yeah, I jumped ship on season 3. I wasn't enjoying it as much. Season 2, I think, is definitely where they peaked. Yes. Season 2, like, the storytelling was excellent. I loved the characterization. I loved I loved you what?
When Lobo shows up.
I loved when Lobo showed up. All the stuff with Jaime Blue Beetle, like yes. It was the character assortment they had was very good. I also love there's an excellent episode in season 2 where it's Batgirl, it's 4 of the female heroes.
Yes.
And they're going to fight Queen Bee, and Nightwing's like, we're sending the 4 of you because we can't send any men because her powers don't work on women. And I love that Batgirl's just like, would you feel the need to quantify that if it was a team of all men? And he's just like, Nightwing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. Was season 2 had like the right number of characters in the right positions where they needed to be. The storytelling was great. I love the stuff with Artemis and Wally. I thought season 2 was it's like, this needs to be the show. But they kept doing these time jumps between seasons, and every season felt like a different show. Yeah. And in season 3 just lost me a few episodes in, which was a real bummer because I really did, and I liked season 1. I loved season 2.
Oh, the 4th season does that thing. I dare say it because I don't want people to come at me, but
I can always edit it out. Just
I don't like using the term woke because I feel like that's super negative connotation per se, but that's all they do is, like, it just becomes the women of the Young Justice show for 15 of the 22 episodes, which, like,
because Nightwing's barely in season 4, isn't that what I've heard?
He doesn't appear until like the 23rd episode, and it's 24.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and because that's my thing is like I'm here to see Nightwing, and I'm just and I finally told somebody, I was like on Twitter, I'm like, dude, tell me when Nightwing shows up, I'm not watching the show anymore. And it's not that like, look, am do I care that you have female characters? No. Do I care that female characters become centric to a storyline? No. But when you're 9 episodes deep and you killed the only dude that had any kind of central character to this, and you're like 3 different, it was just like tedious on top of tedious on top of tedious. And do you know what the Bechdel test is?
Yeah, more yeah.
Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know what the Bechdel test is, it is that if you don't have a scene with 2 women talking about something that isn't pertaining to a man or some kind of romantic relationship with a man, it fails the Bechdel test because women talk about more than just that. And I was like, somebody had tattooed that above the screen.
Way to get out of the trope of like the 50s and 60s of filmmaking, where it was like if you were a woman in a movie, you were there to be a love interest who was super into boys, and like that was it. So they came up with this whole thing of like, how do we know if we're doing a good job with writing our female characters? It becomes, are they doing anything other than talking about boys?
Yeah. Like prime example, the scene in Black Widow when Black Widow and her sister are talking about the vest. That scene is solely there so that the movie passes the Bechdel test because they stupidly made the villain a man.
But at the same time, I love that scene.
Oh yeah, it's a great scene. Like, what's Florence Pugh? Like, my God, this girl can do no wrong.
Yeah,
but
it's also it's a great character moment too, because he talked about like, I never got to pick my own clothes. That's like, that's why when you see her in Hawkeye, she is all about her outfits in Hawkeye are on point, because she's like, she went to all the fashion gurus and was like, I am gonna look good.
But that's what the 4th season of Young Justice, it just seems like somebody was like, just use all the women, which cool if any of those characters were interesting. And that was my thing, is it just got tedious, and I was like, I'm here for Nightwing.
One of the things I'll say about the show is the show was not afraid to do stuff different, kind of like we talked about with the Batman wanting to change certain origins. Like the way they handled they made Dr. Fate a hell of a I did not expect Dr. Fate to I love my Dr. Fate. I didn't expect him to show up so much in this show. And he was kind of a chaotic, tragic character, especially once they have Zatara take over the body. So because he's the only one who could really handle it.
Yeah.
Because it kept trying to take over Wally and take over Zatanna, and he was like, look, give me back my daughter and you can just have me. It was a cool way to show some love to characters who typically didn't get a lot of mainstream attention from DC. It was always about the original 7 in the Justice League and Robin, and especially since at this point, when this show comes on the air, like there's no Batman shows on TV. This is after the Dark Knight trilogy, I believe. I could be wrong about that.
Yes.
Well, it's right. Yeah, it's right towards the end of this. Is right around the same time that Dark Knight Rises comes out. So we're in kind of a Batman vacuum. So it would have been really easy for this show to just become another Batman vessel. And it seems like they kind of went out of their way to make it not that.
Yes.
All right. Do we want to get into the pile of crap we've been putting off since the beginning of this episode?
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk about Titans.
Titans.
The show sucks.
It's a live action TV show. It is probably one of the laziest written shows I've ever seen. If in the first scene, characters who don't usually curse in a comic drop an F-bomb 6 times, then somebody's just trying to be edgy and cool.
It's all this show. This was an edgelord's wet dream. This show was when people talk about the idea of something being dark and edgy for the sake of being dark and edgy, it's this show.
Yeah.
I never, and not only that, but like you talk about lazy, like Dick Grayson leaves Batman and goes to operate out of Bloodhaven. It's the simplest character detail from the comics. You know where Dick Grayson doesn't go in this show? Bloodhaven.
Bloodhaven. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to Detroit.
Yeah.
Goes to Detroit. Why? It was the simplest detail that they got wrong. like from jump in the first episode where it's like Dick Grayson is a police detective in Detroit, Michigan. I was immediately like, oh, we're screwed. Oh, there's already no hope for this show. There's
I do from the trailer.
I mean, yeah, the trailer already looked like horse shit too. Like his costume looked okay. His Robin costume looked okay.
Yeah.
Everyone else's costuming was so bad. And all the way through, and I've not watched the show since season 1, but I've kept up with it for the sake of keeping up with it. Like, you know, you follow the stuff on Instagram and you see like the changes their costumes go through. The costuming never got better. It never got better. All of Raven's every costume on this show looks like it came from Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
Raven, Beast Boy, Starfire, Red Hood when he shows up. I don't care which character we're talking about. All of their characters look like cheap Halloween knockoffs you would get at a closed down Kmart somewhere. They are atrocious.
Yeah, it's laughably bad how some of these costumes are, which I forgot to say with Young Justice. The costume design in Young Justice is fantastic.
It is excellent. Ooh, is it good? Ooh, whoa, is it good? Like that is my new standard for Aqualad. Oh, yeah. I like the look of Aqualad a lot in that show.
Nightwing looks fantastic. All of them
looks. Yeah, find me a bad character design in Young Justice. You can't do it. It's impossible. No. They knocked that one out of the park.
So to go from that to this horrible
woof.
Yeah.
If I could describe the Titans show in one word, it is woof. What I mean, it is. I'm amazed it went 4 seasons. I am honestly shocked it went 4 seasons. And I'm also shocked that the Doom Patrol series, which I still have not watched, and I keep meaning to, because people say it's pretty good, was a spin-off of Titans. And as everyone is like, as middle of the road as Titans seem to be with most people, where they couldn't decide if they liked it or not, people seem to almost universally love Doom Patrol. And it's incredible to me that one is the spin-off of the other, when the spin-off is better than the original. I still need to watch Doom Patrol again. I've heard it's pretty good. So it's incredible to me. And I know that like part of the problem with Titans is that this was one of the flagship shows for the DC Universe app before HBO Max existed.
Yeah.
Because DC Universe launched with this and with Harley Quinn and Swamp Thing. Of those 3, the only one that has any longevity is the Harley Quinn animated series, which is flawless in every shape, stretch of the imagination. The Swamp Thing show was fantastic. It got screwed because somebody was bad at their job. And by somebody, I mean the accounting department.
Yeah.
For those who don't know the story about the Swamp Thing series, it's just simply, it was an incredibly expensive show to make. And they shot the whole show in this area where they were told they were going to get some big tax credit. And then they didn't get the tax credit. And so they lost a ton of money on the show that they were not able to recoup. So it ended up being canceled because they lost all their money, which again is a huge bummer because it was a very good show. And I hope that, and I know that they crossed it over in the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing with the CW, which is kind of cool. And I know there's been people clamoring for the guy who was the body double for Swamp Thing in the show to come back and do it for the movie. I think James Gunn has like expressed an interest in that, but anyway, back to Titans. Titans sucks.
Yeah, no, it was bad writing, bad costuming. It's just one of those. This is where I go.
The acting was terrible too. I don't know where they cast this crew. They got the cheapest act because all these people were mostly unknown. I think the only one who had any real like big time experience was the kid playing Robin. I think everybody else was basically new.
I mean, Alan Richardson had been in some stuff. He'd been in a lot of stuff.
Who was
the guy who played Dove or Hawk? The guy who played Hawk.
I forgot they were in the show.
Yeah, they're in the first. He dies pretty quickly, from my understanding. But yeah, he had been.
Hawk and Dove were in the show. Honestly,
yeah, he had been in. Obviously Smallville. He had been in that Blue Mountain State show. Okay. He's great in Reacher now.
Is he the guy from Reacher?
Yeah.
I still haven't watched that. I've heard it's good.
Oh, it's real good. Ridiculous, but real good.
Yeah.
But no, this is one of those where like, if you'd called this show The Outsiders, maybe I lean into what you're doing. But at no time ever has the Titans or Teen Titans comic been dark, brooding ridiculousness. And at the same time, like, you have a cartoon happening about these characters at the same time.
Yeah.
Why was it not called The Outsiders? That's the thing that gets me the most.
Which is wild to me to think about too. Well, and the thing is, the only reason this show even exists is because for the longest time, the kid playing Robin had been, they were supposed to do just a Nightwing series for like TNT or something like that. That was the whole thing. And he had been training for it. And then basically the plug got pulled. But they wanted to go ahead and do this. So then when they decided they were going to launch their own app, became the thing. It was basically, we wanted this kid to be Nightwing. We wanted, because like you and I have said many times on this show, it's insane that we haven't had live action Nightwing in the movies yet. It's insane. And so this was kind of he was supposed to be their first attempt at a serious live action Nightwing project, because there were pictures of him with like a Nightwing t-shirt working out when they announced it and trying to get in shape and all that. And then just everything fell through with the project. And this was kind of built from the remnants of that. But it doesn't change the fact that, like, now having seen him in the show, he's terrible in the show. He's atrocious in the show. And
what did they train him for? Because he can't fight to save his life.
No, he can't. Well, that's the thing too, is this show, like Titans, at least in season 1, had the most minimalist budget I've ever seen. I have seen better looking fake CGI blood in student films. Because there are times where, like, Robin straight up murders a bunch of dudes. That happens, by the way. And there is fake CGI blood everywhere that looks like it was made with Microsoft Paint. I mean, it looks really bad. This show, it is a mess. And I know it has its fans, but so does Gotham Knights. And the less said about that, the better. The Titans streaming show, I am amazed ran as long as it did. It ran for far too long. And it's one of those too where it's like, when I look at that and Swamp Thing, and I'm like, really, Swamp Thing's the one you axed. Titans was the hill you wanted to die on. Okay. All right, cool. Good call there, guys. But it's also not long after that the DC Universe app gets axed. Everything gets folded into HBO Max, and now Harley Quinn, the animated series, is the only one still running, and again is flawless, and everybody should watch it and love it because it's amazing if you're 18 or older. Yes, because it is not for kids. Have we missed anything? Are there any other Teen Titans things we should mention? I don't think so.
I mean, they have the Teen Titans, but then because what happens with the comics, just to kind of get a little bit into that, is that
because I never read any of the comics. So.
It was a Teen Titans comic, and then in the mid '90s with Impulse and Tim Drake, and oh gosh, I can't remember who the other sidekick was. When the newer sidekicks come about, they call them Young Justice, and they get their own book. So the Nightwing and the other guys, they become just the Titans.
Yeah. They kind of dropped the teen from it eventually and just call it the Titans, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. So that Titans comic has been come and go. It gets rebooted all the time. You have just now restarted a Titans book.
Oh, have they?
I have not picked it up yet, but I need to.
I don't know. I was always more into the Outsiders. And we've talked about the Outsiders on here before. That's a team I'd like to see them, because I want to watch Metamorpho die 7 times because he's always dying. The only comic book character that dies more than Metamorpho is Magneto.
I was gonna say Jean Grey, but
Jean Grey too. Yeah. I mean, the Gotham Knights video game, I mean, that's only Bat Family, but it's it's Red Hood, Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl. The game is fine. I played a little bit of it. It's fine. The Gotham Knights TV show that has no connection to the video game whatsoever is a travesty. And honestly, like the fact that natural resources were consumed to make that television show should make it a crime against humanity. That's it. I hate that. That show is bad. I can't think of anything else Teen Titans we haven't mentioned. So that is kind of just where we are as far as our thoughts and feelings on anything Teen Titans related. It's not a strong showing. I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, when you look at everything we've talked about, the 2 strongest showings were the first 2 Teen Titans cartoons. And that's depending on what the audience is. If you want something that's a bit more, I hate to say grounded, but just more like story, like an actual show, go with Teen Titans. If you just want to laugh at some meta humor and you got kids, Teen Titans Go is there for you. Young Justice is kind of a hot mess, and Titans is a dumpster fire.
I would say watch the second season of Young Justice. If you really like it,
watch the first 2 seasons of Young Justice, and then you can kind of stop there.
I would say watch the second one and then go, how'd they get here? And then go watch the first one.
Well, I guess if you want to Tarantino it, then yeah, sure, watch 2, then 1. But
that's what I would do.
But yeah, no one should ever watch Titans. That show is, I cannot put into words. Like I cannot overstate how bad that show is. It is really bad.
It is trash.
And I know it has some. It ran for 4 seasons, so somebody was watching it. And so if you're one of those people and you think that we're full of shit right now, we'd love for you to tell us. So please, you can let us know on Twitter at We Are the Batman, and you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mike Shea. You
can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ninja.
That is going to do it for this week's episode of We Are the Batman. We will see you guys again next time. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Bye-bye.